Oh, Packers fans. I think we're almost there. I think we're on. I don't know what's happening in the world. We are on, Packers fans. I have to tell you right now that so far, what the Packers are doing makes me want to say, holy forking shirt balls, because none of it makes any sense whatsoever. Ben, the Packers just made their second round selection a little bit ago. Tell us about
them. Okay, you just were breaking up weird again.
Oh, come on.
All right.
My audio's bad.
Let's
That's
see.
that's a
I don't
problem.
know. I'm going to tell you. First of all, I'm going to name all these names for you. Okay, these are all guys that I liked. Some of them even in the first round that were still there at 62. Okay. Jones, the offensive tackle. Now there may be something wrong with him because he's still hanging around. And I don't know why. Okay. Bond from Wisconsin, still there at 62. Okay. Gallimore and Matabuke, two really good defensive tackles, still there at 62. Willie Gay Jr., Davis Gaither, Logan Wilson, three inside linebackers, all still there at 62. Antonio Gibson and John Hightower, wide receivers, still there at 62. Those are all positions of need. Guys that can start and play an impact role on the team right from the start when they're drafted. And with the 62nd pick, the Packers took A.J. Dillon, running back from Boston College, who is a 6-foot, 247-pound running back. You got that? In the second round, they took a running back. When was the last time the Packers took a running back early? Let me think. Oh yeah, Eddie Fat Boy Lacy. And how good was Eddie Fat Boy Lacy? He was good for like a day or two. And then he kept eating and he got fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter and sucked and sucked and sucked. Now I don't know if this guy's gonna do that. He's already 247 pounds and only 6 feet tall. I'm 6 feet tall and I'm 210 and I'm fat. So I can't imagine how fat somebody is at 247 at 6 feet tall.
Okay, but
But all
presumably,
that
hold on.
said,
Presumably, he's got more muscle mass than you.
oh, I would hope so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What I'm saying is the same thing I said yesterday, but I'll say it more calm. Why? Why? Why?
I have no answers. I have no logical answers, but we have some examination. Okay, we jumped ahead a little bit because I'll tell you what, the last 24 hours as a Packers fan has been really tough. These are dark days right now. I'm calling it. They're dark days, dark times, because this seems to make no sense for this team that was 13-3 last year trying to win this year, which is very disappointing to all of us Packers fans. Now, look, I didn't even wear Packers stuff tonight, and I forgot to wear blue. I'm going Bucks. I can't even get it. Here, Bucks. Show it. Bucks. Because at least that team is making sense lately.
That's some 90s, early 2000 Bucks.
I
right
know
there.
it's old Bucks. It's old Bucks, but you know what? It's held up nice and it's comfortable. So, but that's beside the point. Okay. Got ahead of myself. Brews and Bros. Yes, we have a lot of draft talk and a lot of crazy things to talk about because what's happened so far doesn't make any sense. Tonight, I'm trying to finish off the Kolsch style ale from Alaskan Brewing Company. Please tell us your beverage of choice for this evening. Ben, you said you're drinking something tonight. What is it?
I have no idea. It's some crappy, whatever. Something Jesse picked for me or she bought at Trader Jose's. I don't know. All I know is it's got 5.5% alcohol, which is not enough. So there you go.
That's true.
I
That's
need
not
more than that
this.
to get through tonight.
I probably I probably could use one.
Listen, we got to listen. We can't be
Okay.
negative this whole time, or people are going to
No,
not want to watch
dude,
anymore. They're going to be like, "What is this crap?"
we're not. But
So
I will tell you that last night's reaction, which a good number of folks saw, which we're very happy about that you saw that. We're not happy about what happened, but we're happy that at least it entertained you or got your attention or whatever. Um, that hopefully it helps you discover Hafman Brothers. So I guess the one thing for us is all we needed for more people to discover Hafman Brothers was that for the Packers to do something so insane that we just lost our minds with a very raw reaction last night. And I made a couple good friends on as well with Browner and Eckes, and there you have it. Now more people know about Hafman Bros. So we're trying not to disappoint. However, most of the time, yes, we get fired up sometimes, but most of the time we try to digest information, relay information, try to be, we give takes, but we're also very rational, reasonable people. And I consider myself to be that way, but I cannot for the life of me make sense of so far the Packers in this draft. Now, Ben, we don't get the running back choice, and we'll touch on that quick, and then we're going to get back into the last night's pick because that one is befuddling as well. But you still have Aaron Jones and you still have Jamal Williams, and running backs are guys you find in the draft later rounds. It's been that way. Yes, you can take one early, but later rounds, you find quality backs a lot of times, and you don't need one right now. So please tell me. I mean, this back they just took, Dylan, what is he going to do this year for this team? 10 carries a game? I mean, I get he's a big back, so he's different than Jones. I'm fine with that. I totally understand having a big guy and compliment. But your second round pick, and he's going to maybe play 25% of the snaps or less? Come on, man. Explain.
this is my hope. Okay. Danny Vitale went to the Patriots, right?
Yeah.
They don't have a fullback. They have a fullback. I think they signed the guy back. But he didn't play at all or do anything last year. This guy is a talented running back. I mean, he had 15 touchdowns, 1,685 yards on 318 carries. I don't know if that's over his whole career or just last year. I'm assuming it could be just last year. I don't know. These were the stats that showed up when they showed him. And he ran a 4.53 at the combine. So he's not like super slow. He's actually decent, like decent speed. He's not Aaron Jones, but he's there. So he could be an athletic fullback on the field with Aaron Jones as a decoy. Maybe he can block a little bit, which would help. Catch balls out of the backfield that they never ever used Vitale for, by the way, last year, even though they kept saying how awesome he was and how much they were going to use him in the preseason. And it never happened. But that's the only thing I can think of is they drafted this guy at the second round pick to come in and be some sort of a fullback or big back, short distance back, which, they had some problems with short distance. They always do. They've had that for years. So it'd be nice to have a bigger guy who can make a play here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to be positive, but for God's sake, Josh Jones just got drafted by the Cardinals. I mean, there's just so many guys that they should have taken. And they had a chance the first time and the second time to take them, and they're gone.
Right. I mean, linebacker again. Linebacker is a need. You need a tackler. You need that was something we just talked about. Now, hold on. I got to step back because we got some people jumping on the chat and they're active. I want to keep them going here a little bit.
Yeah, let's keep them in.
Okay. I'm happy we have Eckes tonight. He invited a buddy, Bruce Chrisman, a very smart fan. Bruce says, I'm here. Thank you for joining us, Bruce. Welcome. Eckes says Packers suddenly hate everyone named Aaron. I mean, come on. What your two best players, basically, and those are the positions you draft in the first two rounds. Like, what is happening? What alternative universe are we all living in? This is just mind-boggling. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. Andrew, Sarah here. They have wine. Um, Dad and Mom are rocking Mike's Hard tonight. Ekis is finishing a double fisting vodka 7 and Southern Tier IPA. Okay, wow. And let's see. Bruce says um, he would have taken Logan Wilson at this last
Yeah.
pick,
Yes.
which we would have
That's
been perfect.
that's the guy I like. Yes. He's
We
a
would have been.
3-year captain. He was awesome. He was a great player. He was smart. He could
Mhm.
cover. He could tackle. He could read the freaking offense. He could get off blocks. Yes, I agree 100%.
I mean,
And if they would have done that, I would still be sort of okay that they screwed up the quarterback thing.
mhm,
But they didn't. And now Bond is
right.
gone.
So Vaughn
Zach Bond
from
is just
from
drafted in the
Wisconsin.
third
Yeah.
round.
Is Gallimore gone too?
Not yet.
Okay.
The
So
Saints got Zach. The Saints. All these
Jesus.
teams, the Ravens, the Saints, the Cardinals, they're all doing all the things that the Packers should have done. All these teams are doing all those things and getting all these players. Oh my God. Okay, I gotta get over it.
So
I gotta get over it.
but you can't you can't get over it. It's happening right now. We have to get it out. But I want to say this, the perplexing part for sure is, and Browner says, yes, the Packers are doing nothing. Perplexing part is this: the last time we saw the Packers play, they got run all over. They got destroyed running up the middle and just being run on. And you don't address that when there are top quality players in the first round and the second round at either linebacker or defensive tackle. And now you're going to miss out on Gallimore, and then you don't have a fourth round pick. When are you going to get a linebacker or a defensive tackle? Which not only do you need a talent upgrade, you need bodies. You need people there because you're short in those two areas on your roster. I don't get it.
I don't know.
Okay. We're going to turn
One
to
thing I
our.
will say is this.
Go ahead. I'm going to turn
Maybe
to our people in a second.
mom and dad, okay, both told us on numerous occasions, like a month ago. My mom on the phone said, "Oh, I hear a lot about this Jordan Love. I hear the Packers are really interested in this Jordan Love." And I said to her on the phone, I was like, "Mom, you're crazy. That makes no sense. What are you talking about? That is the dumbest thing I ever heard. I don't know what you're talking about." And Dad, what does Dad say a couple weeks ago? He was like, "Oh, Jordan Love. I've been hearing a lot." Now, where do Mom and Dad live? Right in the Green Bay area. We don't live there anymore. We've moved away. You live in Madison. I live in Minnesota, unfortunately for me. But still,
Oh, very unfortunate for you.
yes, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But Mom and Dad are still there, and they're still connected to all the stuff that's going on. And they knew, like they heard it, and we should have listened to them. And maybe it would have softened the blow of what was going on yesterday. But I honestly didn't think that they would do something so crazy and dumb. But that's besides the point. And I don't want to we've already gone over all the things they should have done, all the reasons from yesterday. So what I want to do is,
Wow.
what are your things you've got lined up? I've got some Goody quotes I wanted to do. I got some other things. I mean, what do you want to talk about here?
All right. Well, we were a little emotional yesterday. I mean, that was raw. The thing is, I had my kids watch that because my kids don't watch any of the videos we do or any of that stuff. They don't care about football and mostly don't care about anything I do. But but the deal was, I was like, you guys have to watch this, and they actually sat there and watched almost all 21 minutes of the clip that we had from last night because they couldn't believe it. But then as I rewatched it, I relived the pain. First of all, I relived the excitement as we saw the Packers move up and Queen was there, and you saw how excited we were. We're like giddy kids. We're like, yes, they're gonna do this thing that makes sense right here. And then we got what we got, and it was just like a punch in the stomach on top of just it just contorted your brain to like, how do you understand what this team is doing? So I do want to examine that a little bit, try to get into their thought process. And you brought a very interesting organizational point, which I think may be behind all of this. I think it's a two-pronged thing, and we'll get into that a little bit. That's our take on what we think is going on with the Packers. It's still doesn't make sense to us and the fan base, but it makes business sense. And maybe that's what this all is business. So I do have to catch up with a couple of things. Now, Bruce makes a good comment, which he says, Ben, 4.53 speed is linebacker speed, not necessarily running back speed. And that's true. Most linebackers are going to run that guy down.
No, I agree. I'm not saying it's not.
Dad wanted the Packers to take Bond. Andy's doing a Brownie. Geez, I should never call him Andy. That's weird. Browner's doing a Brandy 7-Up. You see how I got caught up on that one? That's tough for me. Bruce said he would have been fine with Josh Jones. Solid prospect, but of course we didn't do that. Bruce is rocking the old fashioned, mostly whiskey. Got to have a healthy dose of whiskey in there. And then I don't know. Bruce thinks that Bond's not worth a second rounder, so we have some disagreements there, but that's okay. And Ekis says the Cards got 2 great picks with Simmons and Jones. We agree. The NFC is getting better by the minute, says Browner, but not the Packers. And for a team I thought had with the Bears' recent moves and especially in the free agency and the Vikings losing so many players, I thought, hey, this division is going to be easy this year. And now I don't know. Now I really don't know. I have my doubts. Joey T's on here when he says the Green Bay bench is going to look good this year. Packers reserves are going to be great. Those guys that don't see the field. And we do need help right now. And Joe's right about that. Oh, I think Ben's lost his connection, but he's back. You're back?
Is it me that's acting weird?
Yeah, you're acting weird. You're weird over there. It's Minnesota stuff. It's a problem.
It seems to me like you're acting weird. I don't know.
They heard your the problem is they've heard your mentioning the Packers. Got to come back. They've heard you mentioning the Packers too many times in Minnesota, and there's you're getting some interference from some sort of Minnesota wavelength over there. They don't like that. Anyway, Joey T had a nice comment saying that the Packers bench is looking really good this year. Yeah. I mean, please tell me, as a fan base, as fans of this team, I mean, please try to give me something that what are you more upset with? Are you more upset with the picks themselves or just the fact that these picks don't seem to, they're not going to help now. They're not going to help much at all. And why are the Packers continually, now this is 2 years in a row, Ben, we've talked about Rashawn Gary a number of times on our programs. And, the guy played 200 snaps last year and you drafted him after you signed 2 studs in free agency, spent a bunch of money on him. You knew he wasn't going to get in front of those guys. Please tell me why Brian Gutekunst is drafting on potential and drafting these guys that aren't going to play in the early rounds. What is he doing? What is he doing, Ben?
I don't know. And I don't want to go over that anymore. I want to change. I want to talk about other things.
Talk about what you want to talk about. Go ahead.
No, what I'm saying is we've already done that already. We've already, yesterday and every day, we talk about the same crap. So what we need to do is I listened to Goody's press conference after last night, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I got five quotes from Goody that are going to spark to spark the conversation here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The first one I'm going to talk about is he talked about first one is about his grades on players. Okay. Someone asked him, they said, "Hey, Queen was there when you traded up. Can you tell us the difference between your grade for Queen and your grade for Love? Was Love afford to give up on him or whatever?" And he said, "Did you get all that from me? Because you kind of died on me. I'm wondering if I died or you died."
Yeah, you broke up a little bit there. I think I'm solid. We got good, solid connections in Wisconsin. We don't know what the hell we're doing on the draft board, but
I don't know what's going on.
We got that.
Usually it's fine for me. Okay. Anyway, so they asked him, "What's the deal with your grades and why didn't you take was Love just rated 5,000 times higher than Queen?"
Yep.
And our player grades, he's a very good player, but we did what we did. So that was his answer. We did what we did. So, yeah. Then they said,
Oh, goodness.
on why he didn't get a player that can help immediately in the first round. He said this: it was how the board fell.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like there was a game-changing type player there who could help us now. So we took Jordan.
Okay. Your connection is getting funky, but we got it. We got it. I'm gonna jump in here because I think okay. I want to talk about those two things. Gute Kunst. First of all, I got to give a couple of comments from the chat, which are pretty good. Browner points out that our quarterbacks are now A-Rod and J-Lo. So we have that going for us. And Bruce then chimes in and says, Love's pick doesn't make sense because you traded up to get third round talent. You could have gotten him at 30. Obviously, we all said that last night. And I totally agree. I don't think he's worth the 30th pick either. Then you pick a running back, fullback. We're all perplexed by that stuff, which Bruce, I'm with you there. That's fine. Keep venting out in the chat, you guys. Keep throwing stuff at us. But the Gutekunst comments don't. The board did not fall to them. They moved up. And again, I think that was one of the most concerning things was why did they move up? Why in the world did they move up? And we have the person to explain it right here. Right here. Corey is jumping on. I was about to mute him because, you know, it's scary when someone in a darkly lit room joins your Zoom meeting. But I think, yes, I mean, his beard's trimmed. His hair is longer.
It's not trimmed. Trust me, it's not.
Oh, and for some reason, Corey volunteered, Corey Bayless, or Skip Kasich, call him what you like, volunteered to come on here and explain the Jordan Love pick to us while we're at it. So, Corey, the floor is yours.
The floor is mine. Wow.
We promise not. I'm sorry. Before I give it to you, we promise not to berate you. We will let you talk. We may disagree though in the end, but respectfully. So go ahead.
I would expect nothing less, to be honest. And before we get started, I have to say I have not had such a good laugh as I did last night listening to you two go off about this. I was very excited about that.
Well, I'm sad that had to happen.
We're happy to entertain.
Yes.
But we might be paying for it for a few years. So go ahead.
On that note, I will preface everything I say that I did not want them to take a quarterback. I was not surprised they did. I was advocating that they trade up to get CeeDee Lamb. But given the circumstances, this is not as bad of a pick as what everybody thinks it is. It's not a good pick, but it's not as bad as what everybody thinks it is. This is just the Packers doing what the Packers have always done. They are terrible at drafting. When was the last time they actually had a good draft? Probably the draft that they took B.J. Raji and Clay Matthews. That's probably the last really good draft they actually had, if you can even count that as a stellar draft. With that said, this is one of those things where this needed to be done. They need to find somebody to be the successor to Aaron Rodgers. Trading up to get him, that's definitely a stretch. He probably could have dropped to them, but if reports are true and teams were looking to trade up into the first round to get him and they really liked him, then you do what you got to do. That's just kind of the way it is.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. Or do you have more good points first?
Well, go ahead. No, this is a fluid conversation.
All right. I just don't want to throw you off. See, I throw Ben off sometimes, and then we can't get back on track. So I do that to him once in a while. So the questions I have are, because a lot of people, you hear the argument, well, Favre was 35 when they did Rodgers and blah, 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 and all these things comparing it to that situation. And yes, there are some comparables. However, the differences here are that Aaron Rodgers was predicted by many to be the top number one pick of the entire draft. and he fell to the Packers. They did not move up to get him. And Jordan Love, there were 3 quarterbacks taken before him, and on a lot of people's boards, he was the fourth, fifth quarterback rated in this draft. So how are you so in love with him that when your quarterback is still signed for 4 more years, you have to pick this guy? That I cannot fathom. That's saying that in the next 3 or 4 years, there's going to be no good quarterback prospects for you to move on to. That I don't understand.
I don't think it's so much saying that within the next 3 or 4 years, there's no good prospects to move on to. I think what it is they found a guy that has the intangibles that they're looking for, that may be rough around the edges, that has time to be groomed to be that star quarterback that they need. This is also, potentially the Packers saying it without actually saying it, that Rodgers is not untouchable. Rodgers has been a diva his entire career. This is them saying they're not taking his crap anymore.
I would argue that point, but that's fine. I will say that I have an idea. I have a thought. Could this be there just have been too few interceptions in Green Bay for far too long, and we're trying to find somebody else that'll throw some more?
Possibly. But I think Brett Hundley would have taken care of that one. So with Deshaun Kaiser.
Continue on. I'm sorry.
But no, I think this is one of those things where fans have to realize that we do not run the draft. Teams have a way of doing things, and it's just the way it is. Fans will always be upset at the pick. There's also the mentality, too, that you have to get a stud guy in the draft to immediately be plugged in to fill that need. Here's the that's a common misconception, though, because you build depth through the draft. If you have an immediate need, you fill that in free agency. The Packers shouldn't be looking to fill their receiver issues and tight end issues and inside linebacker issues through the draft. That's where you build depth, is through the draft and develop. If you have an immediate need, which the Packers do on so many levels, you get that stuff in free agency. With that said, there are so many needs on this team that fans thinking that this is actually a Super Bowl team is crazy. They were played so far above their station last year that they are definitely not as good as what they are.
Yeah, I've heard that argument before, but I also think there are most football games, and we talked about this on the previous episode of Haven Brothers Talking Packers, which was how many of the playoff teams, how many games that they won were decided by 7 points or less. And there were a whole bunch of them for all the playoff teams. And so in this league, so many games are decided by a play here or there, are making the right play at the right time. And that's something that a guy like Aaron Rodgers gives you. So I still cannot fathom this pick. I still don't get it. And on top of all of it, on top of the fact that I think it's too early to draft a guy, because my perspective is the teams in the league are, you draft a quarterback when you know you're going to start him within a year or two. And that's the point. So if they think he's going to start next year and they got a plan to get out of that dead money for Rodgers, which they don't, because they have a lot of money committed to him next year. So that part doesn't make sense. The financials don't make sense. So what the Packers have committed to, best case scenario, is that they're going to go from one expensive quarterback in Brett Favre to another expensive quarterback in Aaron Rodgers to another expensive quarterback in Jordan Love. They will have lost the time that the quarterback is cheap to build the rest of the team with money. And that is a travesty in today's NFL.
Yeah, and that's definitely a fair point. I think one thing, too, that fans also aren't noticing or whatever is all those big-time quarterbacks, they're not staying with their team for their entire career anymore. Manning, Brady, Favre, They didn't stay with their first team the entire time. Those teams chose to move on, or the players moved on because they knew the teams weren't going to commit to them anymore. So, I mean, that's something to consider too, is that they need to start planning for that eventuality. It's not a potentiality, it's an eventuality that they are going to move on from Rodgers probably before his career is over.
I get that. I want Ben to jump in because he's been quiet for way too long. I don't know what's happening over there, but I do have a couple of comments. Corey, people are calling you out here in the chat.
Go ahead.
Well, okay. So, Bruce wants to look at Love. He's got some talent. That's fine. We understand it. We understand he's got some talent. No one's disputing that. And no one's saying Jordan Love's a horrible player or going to be a terrible quarterback. What we're saying is this move doesn't make sense for the team at this time. But, Bruce then also says, come on, Corey, every good quarterback is a diva.
True. I mean, true.
Y'all got to have pretty good egos on them.
But are you saying that they're bigger divas than...
Even Drew Brees had a little diva coming out this offseason, some of those interviews that were happening when people started talking about Taysom Hill and some other things there.
Oh, sure.
So even the nicest guy in the world, Drew Brees, there's something there.
True. But if you look at the diva scale, it's not even... You can't compare Brees to Rodgers. Rodgers is so far above that because he knows he's so good. And I mean, Brees is fantastic too.
Yes,
but Rodgers embraces the fact that he's a diva, and he knows that he can get away with whatever he wants in Green Bay. He is untouchable. There's this aura of him that he's a god in Green Bay, very much the same aura that Favre had. And this may be the team, the organization saying, you're not untouchable. You do not run things around here.
Okay, that's a fair point. I would say maybe, though, that he's got that attitude since they haven't drafted a skilled offensive player in 15 years in the first round. But Ben, come back. Come back, Ben. We lost Ben. No, and he hasn't talked for too long, so Zoom's shutting down on him. One weird thing. Go ahead, Corey. You got something else?
I think one of the things, too, is when Rodgers played his best games last year is when he didn't have Devontae Adams. He had to spread the ball around. I think that has been a crutch for him, is that he relies on Devontae too much. Those 4 games, whatever it was in the middle of the season where they didn't have Devontae and he had to spread the ball around to Kumro and Valdez-Scantling and give it to Aaron Jones and whomever else. That is when he played his best. He wasn't relying on one guy. When Devontae came back, that's the only person he looked at, and everybody else kind of fell in the background. And I think that is an issue. Who's to say if you get him another stud receiver or tight end in his prime that he's going to go to them when he's still got Devontae? I mean, is it the fact that he just doesn't trust the rest of those guys with Devontae on the field, or that because he had no other option, he accepted the fact that, maybe these guys can actually play?
Yeah, that's a fair point. And Ben's put through that examination too of him passing up open guys to wait till Adams gets open, or he's too locked in on Adams. And that's definitely an issue. And he did play better when Adams wasn't on the field. And that's a strange thing to navigate. But Ben, any thoughts on what Corey's selling here? Ben,
contemplating.
I think he is. He's thinking, or his Minnesota connection's failing him. Well, Corey, it's a fair point. I said we wouldn't berate you, but I still can't understand the pick. One from the financials aspect, with Rodgers still in contract for 4 years and all of that guaranteed money for the next 2. I know year 3, it's not as bad. Ben's having problems with connection. Dang.
And those are all fair points.
And the other thing is, I get it. Okay, so people are saying 13-3 team. A lot of people are making that argument. But when you look at the plays, the game-changing plays, they had enough defensively to make game-changing plays that could turn a game. They took care of the ball, which is a big thing in winning football games, right? And you still have all those things in place. The thing they didn't have necessarily was still they needed more speed on defense. They need someone that's going to tackle,
Mhm.
and they need more dynamic speed on offense. And they also need someone who's going to help against the run. So those are heavy needs. And in the first round and the second round, you had players, you had defensive tackles, you had linebackers, you had people there that would fit those bills, and they didn't pull the trigger on them. Instead, we get two players that are going to play not at all or maybe a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is LaFleur and Gutekunst just trying to put their stamp on things and really
I think so.
trying to create their team, because pretty much everybody on this team are players that they have inherited. LaFleur Rogers is not LaFleur's quarterback, you know, and I think that's the thing, is that we're starting to see now that they're putting their stamp on things. And one of the points you made last night is that Gutekunst is drafting off of potential, and that's really kind of what the draft is about, anyways. If they're still embracing this draft and develop, you have to have guys that have the potential. Now, I think if you're drafting within, the first and second rounds, there definitely has to be a proven track record that they can develop into an even higher caliber player than what they already are. When you're in the third, fourth, fifth rounds, then you can take those flyers on those, high risk, high reward guys. But in that first and second round, you definitely want some type of proven track record of a high caliber player. That has never been something that the Packers have done, though. I mean, they are not well suited to drafting those kinds of players for whatever reason it is. So to say that, this is a surprising pick, it is in the fact that they traded up to get him, but not so much in the fact that they actually took him in the first round. And I again prefaced everything by saying I wish they would have traded up to get CeeDee Lamb. There was other players that I thought could have helped. I've been saying for years they need a true number 2 receiver opposite of Devontae, because if Devontae goes down, they have nobody to throw to because there is no quality depth there. But I'm not here to say that Jordan Love is the end all be all. He's the greatest player in the world. I just think it was one of those things where everybody was just bashing the pick, and it's just somebody needs to come on and accept it for what it is, defend it for however much they can.
All right. Well, I'll say that one of the things you said is I totally agree with. Ben's having a connection problem, so we apologize for that. But this has been historical with the Packers and a lot of other franchises, that the new regime wants their own guys, right? They want to build with their own guys. Wolf did it. Wolf got Favre. He wanted Favre. He got Favre. There you go. Thompson and McCarthy came in after a little while. Okay. The Rodgers, they lucked out. He fell to him.
Yeah.
And that all happened. Like, that easily couldn't have happened. And then who knows where things would be. But that did happen. And they were like, we want to move on with this guy. Fine. Now there's some differing things in there, but now you have LaFleur and Gutekunst. So you have a big change. When you see this big change within an organization where it's not just the coach or the GM that's changed, it's both within a relatively short period of time. These two guys are kind of married together, right? Their success is dependent on one another. And so they're like, yep, we want to do this our way. We want to get our own guy. I think there's some ego involved from those two positions within the organization. And on top of all that, I think when you look at Gutekunst and LaFleur, yes, they might want to do things a little different way. And maybe Rodgers isn't the perfect quarterback for LaFleur's system, although he's very versatile, could do a lot of cool things. I understand the want to get younger, but the part I still don't get is there were teams in the 20s that traded out. Jordan Love was there. They didn't want him. They need quarterbacks. Patriots got out. Another team got out. I can't remember off the top of my head. But you had teams that were like, that's fine. We're not enamored with this guy. But for some reason, the Packers were. So the question I have is, were the Packers so desperate to move on that they'll just take this quarterback with some talent? Or were they just like, this guy is by far, like, if the Packers had the number 1 pick, would they have taken Jordan Love? I want an answer to that question. That'll tell me what they thought.
And that's a question that we're not going to get answered.
Am I back?
You're back. Okay, now's your time to yell at Corey because he's making 0 sense over here.
You know that's not true.
Here's the good news for you, Corey. I don't know what the hell you said, so sure, whatever. But I got this. Here's the answer of whether.
Oh boy.
Okay. His quote on what type of player he's going to be. Are you ready? This is the exact quote. And I want you to listen very carefully. Love has a chance to be a pretty solid quarterback in the National Football League. Yes, that's the quote of the guy that they traded up and had to get to kick Aaron Rodgers out of town and make them all pissed. He has a chance to be a pretty solid quarterback. A pretty solid quarterback. So you traded up to draft a guy who replaced a Hall of Famer, who you think maybe has a chance to be a pretty solid quarterback? That's the exact quote from yesterday's press conference. And that's not a lie.
Ben purposely made me Ben told me purposely not to listen to Gutekunst's comments so he could debut some of this stuff to me. And here's the only explanation I have. Brian Gutekunst lost his freaking mind. That's it. Because I want to tell you a couple of key points here. Corey, you listen to this and tell me how this is why the financials don't make any damn sense. Ted Thompson was out as GM on January 1st of 2018. Goody was in as GM January 8th of 2018. Aaron Rodgers' extension was signed August 29th of 2018. So you knew you were committing all of this money to this dude because he's freaking awesome. Yes. You also know that he's still awesome. Yes, you had a head coaching change in there. I get that. So are you telling me the only difference there? So Brian Gutekunst is in charge. He says, Aaron Rodgers, you're awesome. We're giving you a whole crap load of money. You are our quarterback until you're age 40 at least. Bam. And we're going to get at least until you're age 38 or 39 because we're guaranteeing you so much money that we can't trade you or cut you or whatever. Are you telling me Matt LaFleur? Because this is the only explanation I get. Matt LaFleur has the power in the organization to say, I don't want Aaron Rodgers. I know it's going to cost us a whole bunch of money and it's going to really make everything screwed up with the team and everybody's going to get pissed off at each other and the locker room's going to be a mess. But give me this guy. Give me that Love character because I can't even work with this dude over here and I don't care what it costs. Get him out of town. I'm a second-year head coach. Yeah, I got a nice little haircut and I slick my hair all the time, whatever. I'm kind of pretty, whatever. And young ladies, fans, Packer fans like me. But I got that much power, Matt LaFleur, because Gutekunst made the commitment financially. It makes no sense. No sense.
Has anyone taken into account Rodgers' injury history?
Yes.
So you have to take that into account. He is fragile.
Oh, come on. He started a lot of games over the years, man.
He started a lot of games, but how often has he been hurt lately? And they showed in 2019 when he was hurt, they cannot win.
Bruce,
why give him a 6-year contract extension for a guy who gets hurt all the time?
That contract was given before that season. Maybe that during that season they realized we need to have a backup plan.
All right.
After the collarbone season,
they had
there with the collarbone season.
They had a backup plan. They had Taysom Hill, dude, and they let him go. And that's why
that was dumb.
That's why you had Brett Hundley, baby. And I've said it before, if Taysom Hill was there at 17, that team would have stayed afloat. Brett Hundley. The thing that worries me about Love, Brett Hundley was also pretty athletic, right? Brett Hundley could also throw on the run and do some of these things that we see him do, but he was also very inconsistent and had some interesting decision-making issues and stuff like that. So that's probably concerns me even a little more about this Love pick. Bruce also
something more concerning. Are you ready for something even more concerning?
I just want to say right after this, Bruce also points out in the chat that Love played in the Mountain West Conference. You know, the level of competition out in the Mountain West, it ain't great, guys. They're not plastered receivers. Go ahead, Ben.
I've got some good things to say about Jordan Love, but I'm not going to say them now. Right now, I'm saying some bad things.
All right, let's.
Okay.
And we're not
Pro
trying to bash Love.
Football Focus. I don't know. No. Pro Football Focus did a comp of Jordan Love. Do you know what the comp of Jordan Love is? His NFL comp.
I saw
They
it.
said this.
It's the worst.
Are you ready?
Sarah, brace
DeShone Kaiser. DeShone Kaiser was the comp for Jordan Love. The guy
Makes
that the
total
Packers,
sense. They traded for Kaiser.
right, and he sucks. And he sucked when they got him. And he's terrible. And he was terrible. And that's the part that scares the crap out of me. You thought it looks like Brett Hundley? No. They're saying DeShone Kaiser now. I don't want to get into all the stuff about Jordan Love yet, because I got good things to say about him. I don't want to do that. Now I want to talk about more Goody Coons quotes.
All right.
Are you ready? Here we go. I got to do
because-
it before I get cut off again with this
Go ahead. Do
bad
it.
connection.
Goody Coons, go ahead.
Okay.
Minnesota problems.
He was asked about Rodgers, how Rodgers would feel about this, right? First they asked him, did you reach out to Rodgers and what did he say? This is what Goody had to say.
I heard this one. And it blew me away.
I haven't connected with Aaron yet, and he's obviously been through this, and he's a pro, and this is a long-term decision. He's been around a long time, and he knows what we're playing for right now. That was his quote. So he never called Rodgers. And this press conference was like half an hour to an hour after they made the pick, and he still hadn't contacted Rodgers about this.
I have serious questions.
That's a little concerning. Now, here's the other quote on Rodgers.
Hold your quote, because I got two questions about that quote. Okay. One, how did you not reach out to Aaron Rodgers about this? How? I mean, if this was the plan all along, and that's what the rumors were, and nobody believed it because it seemed insane, but how did you?
It was the plan.
But if that was the plan, then how did you not communicate that to Aaron Rodgers? How? And then your excuse is, well, I just haven't connected with him. Come on, man. Like this
is a slap in the face.
It's terrible.
A slap in the face to the Hall of Fame player. This isn't like in 2005 when Rodgers fell down the draft board over and over and over. A guy who should have been number 1 pick fell all the way to 24, and Ted Thompson's like, holy crap, this guy is the best player ever. We got to take him. No. This is a guy who was not considered to be the best player, who is a project at best, and they traded capital, a 4th-round pick, to move up and get him when they didn't even have to do it in the first place, which means they wanted him, which means they had this in plans for a while, number one. That is just, and they didn't say nothing to Rodgers. Because before, not an hour and a half, 2 hours earlier, when he was on Pat McAfee, he was oblivious to the fact that they might take a quarterback. Mm-hmm. No clue. No freaking clue. He was talking about offensive lineman, specialist to help him out, a wide receiver or something like that, or even a defensive guy. He didn't care. He said, I'm going to call him. I'm going to welcome him to the Packers. All this kind of stuff. So I don't really, I'll get into that. That's the one take I have from this. The bottom line is this. Just wait 1 second. The bottom line of this is this. Between Goody and LaFleur, the two of them together, and I don't think Mark Murphy has any clue what's going on. That's obvious because he never does.
Yeah,
Mark Murphy is a moron. But Goody and LaFleur, this is what they believe. They believe that in the next 2 years, the combination of Rodgers' descending abilities and Love's ascending abilities would mean that by 2 years from now, Jordan Love would be a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. That's the only thing that I can think of as to why they would make this move on this yesterday on a 1st-round pick, trade up for this guy. And they probably could have a good chance to be right on that. And I'm okay with it. But what the part that bothers me is when you make that pick and you make that choice, number one, the first guy you call is Jordan Love. Yes. The very second guy you call is Aaron Rodgers. And you say, listen, I know you probably just saw what we did. I know what's going on here. You're thinking, what the hey? Because all Rodgers talks about is how he wants to be a Packer for his whole career, blah, blah, all that awesome stuff, right? And we're telling you, we don't know what's going to happen. We want to make sure we got a good back. You smooth it over. You tell him everything you possibly can. But when you don't call him and you don't talk to him, all it leads to is more questions in Rodgers' mind about why aren't they calling me? Why aren't they telling me this stuff? What the crap is going on here? It's a freaking disaster.
Hour and a half later.
It's a disaster to make the pick, and it's a disaster the way they handled it. And I'm not.
Dang, Ben, your connection stinks a little bit, but I get what you're getting at, and we've talked about this before. And yes, like I think that's the part that hurts the most. Is it you saw Aaron Rodgers talking about that stuff? You know, he said, I want to play till I'm 40. He's been very clear about that. Yeah, he said Adam Schefter has misquoted him earlier today when he's trying to justify this pick on some ESPN garbage, which if you're going to quote some dude, like, know what the quote is, Schefter. But anyway, as a former journalist, that annoys the hell out of me. But the point is that Rodgers said, yes, he's on the back nine of his career. He said that like a year or two ago. That still means there's plenty of time left. And he already committed, signed the contract. He said he wants to play through the contract for sure and then see where things are at. So he wants to play till he's 40. And he has repeatedly said, I want to stay with this team. I want to be a Packer my entire career. That means a lot to me. So if a guy says that, we didn't hear that stuff from Brett Favre, okay? Brett Favre's great. We love Brett Favre. A lot of people love him a lot. Like, probably people liked him more than Rodgers. Fine. But you didn't hear that from Brett Favre necessarily. Aaron Rodgers has come out and said it repeatedly. And you don't call the guy before you do this? That's the handling of that. That's inexcusable. And then your answer to the question an hour and a half later when you know a reporter is going to ask you that is, I just haven't connected with him or blah, blah, blah. Like, come on. I have to say, between the drafts, between Rashawn Gary, between some of the other questionable decisions, Cole Madison, some of these other picks that just complete disaster. Like, yeah, Jair Alexander's pretty good. We got a couple guys that are all right. Oren Burks, you can't even see the field. I mean, we got a lot of issues with these drafts so far for Gutekunst. And then you do this, and then you treat a known commodity who's the face of the franchise with no communication, and you spring this on him. I mean, I got issues with Gutekunst. I'll tell you that.
In my mind, I didn't want Gutekunst as the GM. I was a Russ Ball fan. I was advocating for Russ Ball or just them to pull the trigger and give it to Elliott Wolf. But I was not looking for Gutekunst to do this. We don't know what's in their minds. This could be just their way of doing the ye old power play. We're in control of the team, not you, Aaron. We don't have to tell you anything. Is it disrespectful to a future first ballot unanimous selection Hall of Famer? Absolutely. But, it is what it is at this point. It's, the contention is already there. And do we really think that during that, like, Pat McAfee interview that Ben was referencing, Aaron Rodgers didn't know that they were looking at taking a quarterback? Aaron Rodgers is not a stupid man. He knows. He is a smart man. He knows what's going on. He's just saying the right things.
Well, okay, we could say that. That's fine. But at the same time, I feel like the things he did say about being with the organization, that does mean a lot to him. He does think about legacy, and he thinks about all that stuff. And on top of it all, you look at what the guy went through to get in the position he is.
Sure.
And now you have this same garbage happening to him. Like, you want to say, hopefully you handle it better than Favre did. You want to say, but I wouldn't misunderstand if he didn't handle it that well. I think he will try to mentor Love to some extent. I just don't understand when when the guy has shown commitment like that and says it over and over publicly. It just has to tell you the Packers thought Jordan Love was the best quarterback in the last 20 years, best quarterback in the draft since Andrew Luck. That's what they must have thought, because otherwise this makes no sense. Eka says looking for Love in all the wrong places. Correct.
I-
This is the
If
wrong place.
if they had not traded up to get Love, would this be as big of an issue as it is?
Yes.
No.
Because the
No,
guy's
it
not going to
wouldn't.
play. He's not going to play, and you got so much money
it
tied up
wouldn't.
in your other quarterback. Okay,
But
go
it
ahead.
wouldn't, because this is the reason why. Because when Gutekunst says in a quote, that's how the board fell, which is a lie because he traded up. If it would have just fell to him and they'd say, listen, Rodgers, that's the other thing. Queen would have been gone. So the fans would have been mad because Ravens would have already taken Queen, right? So Queen would have been gone. All that would be left was a bunch of wide receivers that are all pretty okay. I don't think any of them were that great. And then Gutekunst's quote of saying, hey, we didn't feel there was a big difference maker that could help us this year. This guy has potential to be an all-time player. Okay. But the fact that they traded up to get him meant they targeted him and wanted him. And because of that, that's the part that's the scariest part for Rodgers. Okay. That's the part that's a slap in the face to Rodgers. Now, this is the other thing. And Corey said something about it earlier that I heard the tail end of before I got knocked out. He said, Rodgers is missing guys that were open. Rodgers is not running the play the way it's supposed to be designed. Something came out last week. I found out that Rodgers was playing pranks on the floor all season, where he was like, I'm locked out again.
That's okay.
He was like, yeah, he was pretending like he couldn't hear the play call and being like, I don't know what you're saying. But then he actually did. And then later on in the season, when it actually did break down and he couldn't hear it, LaFleur was getting mad because he thought he was messing with him, but it actually happened for once. And Rodgers got a big kick out of it. Oh, he. Okay, that's real funny. But when you're in the middle of an actual game, an NFL game, and there's only 16 of them in the season, don't pull that crap with the first-time head coach. The guy's got enough crap going on the way it is. So now I'm going to start getting into the parts where I understand completely why LaFleur wanted this to happen and why LaFleur targeted Love. Because I think this is all LaFleur. I don't think this is Gutekunst. Because like you said, he signed Rodgers to the big contract almost 2 years ago. He knew what was going on. Where the only thing that's changed since then is LaFleur and that relationship. Goddamn. I don't know what's going on.
You got to watch some more.
Just pissing me off!
You got to watch some more Good Place so you can substitute some of those words. Just saying, holy fork and shirt balls. Ben's connection has got Minnesota challenges. Hey, there's lots of people on Zoom trying to do stuff right now and the internet, and we might have broke it. But I think there's the Packer insider that listens to Hafer Brothers is trying to slam our show here and really cut us off. Now, Corey, maybe that's you. I don't know.
No, it definitely is not me.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. You've never listened to our show before tonight. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Your family and all, but whatever. Don't worry.
That's not true. Come on now.
I was thinking I got to none of my notes, but I actually have some notes here that I've gotten to, so I'm pretty happy about that. The thing I told Ben earlier today is Aaron Rodgers' successor is probably still in high school, and that's what the Packers should have been thinking, not this dude. When I have hundreds of millions of dollars already committed to this other guy, that's the part. Football is a business. Ben, you brought this to my attention. Please expound upon what you think is happening. Why the Packers have made these decisions with players that will not play right now. Rashawn Gary, oh, you're not going to play, but we're going to draft you. Love, you're not going to play for at least 2 years, maybe 3. Who knows? Maybe even 4. We're going to draft you. High draft capital used. I'd rather have high draft capital used on players that disappoint than people that we don't even know if they're going to disappoint because they're not going to play. Ben, what's your, you think you have reasoning for the Packers while your connection is working? Please tell us.
Well, I don't know how long it's going to last. So if it dies, just take it over. But before I get into that, here is the last Gutekunst quote.
Oh, okay. One more.
Asked about Rodgers, he says, we have the best quarterback in the NFL, and we plan to have him for a while competing for championships. Those were his quotes. His quote, competing for championships. And this is where I beg to differ, sir. Because if you wanted to compete for a championship, you would use your top draft picks on players that can help you win that championship while Rodgers' window is open. That is not correct. This move to get Jordan Love was a move specifically to ensure they have a franchise quarterback for the next 15 years. They're not worried about winning championships now. And not only are they not worried about winning championships, they're worried about being consistently successful to make money. Because when you go all in to try to win a championship, your team wins a championship and you do really great. And then you got a couple down years because you had to pay a bunch of money to guys and move things around and make things happen, right? And that's why you see with a lot of teams, except for the Patriots, because they're just way too smart. But all the other teams, they win a championship, then they fall down. They win a championship, then they fall down. But the Packers have successfully made the playoffs all these years in a row. They got one damn championship to show for it, one Super Bowl appearance to show for it. And why is that? Because they spent all their draft capital on defensive players, not skill players. They put all their money into Rodgers and a couple other like offensive line, which is fine, which is what you need to win, and they win. But they never quite have enough talent to go all the way to the top. But man, they can still make the money. They can still pack Lambeau. They're still one of the top teams in the NFL every single year. And this goes back to the debate we had a couple times ago and on Hafen Brothers Talking Packers, where I said I would rather have my team win the Super Bowl and then maybe have a couple stinky years and then go win another Super Bowl like the Giants than have the Packers who consistently do well and then break your heart in the playoffs every freaking year right before they get to the Super Bowl. And that's my opinion. And I think that's what they're doing. And it makes sense. It's a business. They got to make money.
The business.
We went through we were kids in the 80s. We know what it was like. They sucked.
Yep.
And it was not fun. So I understand the thought and the concept here. But not only that.
Go ahead. Sorry. I was going to say. Jump in.
You go ahead, because I don't know if I'm going to die or not. But that was what I thought of yesterday.
You're doing well, and I thought your point is well taken. And I hadn't thought of it. I mean, like, I get football is a humongous business, but I wasn't thinking about it that way, because the Packers come out every single year and say, our goal is to win a championship. In Green Bay, every year, we're going for that Lombardi trophy. And you know what? Based on these moves, it shows you they are not. That is all talk, not serious about it. They are more concerned, and maybe that's with Mark Murphy's presence and other people within the board and whatever. They're like, you know what, guys? Let's not take too many risks here. Let's not go for broke. Let's make sure we have that sustained success so we keep selling tickets and jerseys and all this stuff. The fan base is sticking with us because we're staying good for all this time. But, if we get lucky and it falls in place, we win a championship, great. But otherwise, we'll keep them on the hook. And that seems to be these two picks. And Gutekunst's approach so far is telling you that might be the kicker for the Packers. That's what's happening. And I believe it. I
would wholeheartedly agree with that. I was actually telling a buddy of mine earlier today that football is a business. The goal of the business is to have sustained long-term success. Like Ben said, you have those spikes, you win a championship, but then you're down, and then you're not making the money. The Packers are selling a product. The product is not a football team. It's not the sport. Their product they're selling is hope. There's hope for the fans that they're going to win a championship. It's a false product because it's not going to happen, but it's still a product that everybody's buying into because of the sustained success that they've had.
I challenge any of you watching this to find another sports-based Packer program that tells you what we just told you. I don't think you'll find it anywhere.
Well, and it's a smart move. Honestly, but this is the problem with what that does too. Think about this. The Packers were successful, right, for so many years in a row, and the fans get complacent. Remember how when they were kind of like, oh yeah, and then and people were like, and all the rich people are buying the tickets to go to Lambeau, and the crowd wasn't very into the games, and you know what I mean? Because it was like the same thing over and over, but there was no big time championship, right? There was no big, we got there, but not quite. And the first thing LaFleur did when he got hired was, hey, everybody, we need the fans to show up at Lambeau and be loud and be crazy again. Babbity floop. Well, it's hard to be loud and crazy when you keep seeing the same thing all the time. Sometimes you need the hills and the valleys. And that's why when the Packers stunk and they fired McCarthy, and then last year they won all those games, everybody went nuts because they were winning a bunch of games. It was exciting again as a fan. And as much as continued success might be a good business plan, it doesn't help your fan base stay engaged. That's the big problem. And that's why you see like Tampa Bay, they're going all in, man. They're trading. They're getting what's Gronk out of retirement. They're getting Tom Brady. They're drafting wide receivers. They got like 25 different guys for Tom Brady to throw to. They don't care. They're going for it all. And it's like, holy crap. And the Packers, they're drafting a quarterback that's not going to see the field for 4 years and a running back who hopefully won't play. And if they let Aaron Jones go, I'm going to kill somebody. Because then I will – well, I'm not going to do that. I take that back. But I'm going to be really friggin' mad.
It's an interesting concept that the Packers want to win, just not too much. Because then too much, there's too many issues by winning too much.
I'll tell you what, too, there's a whole generation of Packers fans, because Ben and I are old enough, and Corey, you might be on the fringe, to remember the ugly days. But there's a whole generation of Packer fans, all they pretty much experienced is winning teams, winning culture. That's it. And I've talked to some of them. And, yeah, they're so used to it. The expectations are there that they're kind of like, when you don't win it all, they're like, and they're not as into the games, and they're not as into the product. So if you don't give them a jolt to something really good soon, like you finally had some charge last year with the energy, and the dip down the year before helped make last season so exciting, like Ben said. But if you don't do that again in the next couple of years, or you don't do that within the first few years of Jordan Love being your new starter, they're going to check out, because they'll go watch something else. They'll go watch soccer. They don't care. Whatever. They don't care. Football is not as exciting to them.
Packers fans, myself included, are some of the most spoiled fans out there because of the sustained success and the fact that we have gone from one Hall of Fame quarterback to the next over, 25 years, whatever it is, that we've never had to worry about who our quarterback is going to be. Now we're at that point of, it still could be 3-4 years away yet before who the quarterback's going to be, but the process is in place now. But Packers fans are incredibly spoiled, and if stuff goes wrong, we are very, very quick to flip that switch and say, you all suck and you need to be fired. Mm-hmm. We're very petty.
Now they turned on McCarthy fast. There's no doubt about that. And Dom Capers was the whipping boy for a long time. Now we all know Dom. Come on, Dom Capers. But look, not like Pettin's doing that much better. So
isn't
Ben,
it
go
scary
ahead.
though? Isn't it scary that 18 months ago, this team, this regime, Goody and Mark Murphy, chose Aaron Rodgers over Mike McCarthy, because we knew there was a rift there between those two guys, and they chose Rodgers. And now only a year and a half later, they choose to draft Rodgers' successor. That's very strange to me, because that's, like I said, the only thing that's changed is LaFleur. So there's got to be something that LaFleur is saying to these guys, and he's pointing things out. They're like, listen, Rodgers is not running the plays the way I want him to. Rodgers on 3rd and 4 is throwing a 45-yard bomb instead of throwing to the open guy on the 6-yard out route. When Kumbro was wide open, he's throwing a deep bomb to Devontae when he's triple covered. Why? On 3rd down. And he's stopping the drive. He did it all year. He did a bunch of times last year. Rodgers is zoning in on Devontae, trying to wait for him to get open. And Devontae's great, but he gets double teamed. Why is Rodgers doing those sort of things? Because what did this offense do? They turned Matt Ryan, a pedestrian quarterback in my mind, into an MVP with this offense. Matt Ryan, he stinks. He ain't even close to Aaron Rodgers.
Average
they made
at
Jared
best.
Goff. Jared Goff got to the Super Bowl with this same offense. Jared Goff, he stinks. So how can Rodgers barely move the ball? He's throwing for 200 yards a game. They're getting stuck on 3rd down. I'll tell you why. It's because Rodgers is doing whatever the hell he wants half the time, and he's not following the plays the way LaFleur wants him to. And that's why LaFleur never says this in public. He never will. But behind the scenes, he's saying, listen, I want a guy who's got all the talent in the world and all the potential in the world, and I can mold him. Which is the same thing McCarthy and Thompson wanted. They had Favre, and they're like, this guy ain't listening to me. I'm sick of this crap. And this guy came down, and you got Rodgers, and you're like, oh yeah, I can mold this guy. I can turn him into a superstar, and he'll do what I want. But then Rodgers became too big, and he took over the whole team and everything. So that's what's going on here. Goody and LaFleur are like, hey, Rodgers is too big for our team right now. We need to try to get it back. I think that's what this is all about too.
I agree, but I got one quick thing on this. At least, and you saw it in 2007. McCarthy came in, young coach, first year, let Favre do whatever the hell he wanted. It was the worst year of Favre's career. 29 picks, awful. They went 4-12. McCarthy came back and demanded of Favre and laid it to him and said, look, you're a quarterback, but you got to start practicing. You got to start doing all these things. You got to start doing film study. You got to put in the work. I want to see the work. And you do that, and then we're going to have success. And they had a big turnaround. And Favre had one of his best seasons as a Packer. But you know what? At least they gave him that chance. You're telling me that LaFleur is this passive guy? But he didn't want to approach his star quarterback and if it's such a big problem, if it's what you're saying and it's such a big problem, you're the head man. How do you not approach your guy with that same sort of thing and give him the chance to correct it?
Because
how do you not show him that respect? Listen,
there's it's not about respect.
Yes,
it's the difference between Favre and Rodgers. The difference between Favre and Rodgers at this point in their careers. Favre was a gunslinger who didn't want to practice. He didn't want to work hard. He didn't want to study the film. He didn't want to do all the things like the grinding work. He just wanted to show up and go crazy and play.
Yep, have fun.
That was his downfall. And he needed to do all that studying and all those things to make him a better player. Rodgers does the studying. Rodgers does take care of his body. Rodgers does know the playbook in and out. His problem is his ego. He thinks he knows more than everybody else. And he lets you know that he knows more than everybody else. And that's the problem. And when you hire a guy who's basically the same age as you, and it's his first year as head coach, your second year now, and you're a 15-year veteran, a two-time MVP, should have been four-time MVP, but that's another thing, and multiple Pro Bowls, Super Bowl MVP, first ballot Hall of Famer when he retires, you think he's going to listen to some punk guy who just came off the street, who was the offensive coordinator as the Titans? No. That's another problem. And what this move does is it says, hey, we got the call. We control the team, not you. You're going to be gone someday. And just to show it, let you know that we're going to be gone someday, here's the guy we're taking, just to be like, oh, yeah, you can, we'll see you in a couple of years. And it's scary and it's disrespectful, but I totally get it. If I was LaFleur, I'd be doing the same damn thing. And that's just the truth.
Why wouldn't you approach the guy and if you had such a problem with him, hash it out and tell him, look, it's got to change this year or we're making a move. I don't like the backsided stuff. I don't like them not talking to him about it. I don't like any of it.
See,
and on top of it,
I don't know if this is just me. I'm just spitballing here. But what I'm saying is, what type of guy is LaFleur? LaFleur is not a ruffle the feathers guy, right? He's a behind the scenes, and he doesn't even say jack squat. He never talks smack about anybody.
He's got to be the leader of the team, though. He's got to be.
I know, but that's not what he is. He's not a take you by the face and smack your, like Mike McCarthy was a smack you in the face when he first started. You know, he didn't take any crap. That's why he was perfect for the transition from Favre to Rodgers. He was just like, you know, you're either going to do what I want you to do or I don't want you around. And it was gutsy. And now these two guys are going to have to do it, but they didn't. And they didn't. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Do we know for sure that LaFleur during the season or right after the season didn't talk to Rodgers about that? We don't. I don't know that LaFleur is not the kind of guy to engage in pillow talk and gossip like that. He's business, so he's not gonna say. But he's probably very much one of those very passive aggressive guys behind the scenes where, he's not doing what I want, he's gone kind of deal.
You saw it. You saw it with Ben and I talked about the drastic change in the play of the defense and the calling of the defense from early in the season to after the first couple of times they got burned on some big plays. All of a sudden, it was no more press man, play all this soft coverage, let teams work you all the way down the field on these long drives over and over again. And that wasn't Mike Pettin. That was Matt LaFleur saying, and he said in press conferences over and over again, we can't give up these big plays. These big plays are killing us. Big plays, big plays. That's all he talked about. And we saw a drastic change in the way the defense was being played by this team. So it shows you right now, there's a little insight, right? Between this, Matt LaFleur is a lot tougher than you think. And he's taking charge of this team. So for better or for worse, that's what you're going to get as Packer fans. So I hope you like him, because that's what he's making all the decisions right now. I don't care what, Gutekunst is the GM. Goody's a pushover. They talk about it's a partnership. Murphy doesn't know what's going on. LaFleur's got a lot more power.
I don't think Murphy knows what's going on.
LaFleur has a lot more power than a lot of head coaches, and he is a second-year young head coach, first-time head coach, and he's got more power than a bunch of coaches got. And that's the truth.
Well, I think he right now he's trying to really cement what his power actually is, because he has that 13-3 record under his belt after his first season as a first-time head coach. So he's got leeway. Goody's gonna be like, yeah, okay, whatever. You want to do that? Sure, I don't care. You're a 13-3 head coach.
Do the Packers have a second pick coming up in third round? Browner, are we 2 picks away? I'm watching the chat a little bit here.
Yep, Titans and Packers.
All right.
So we've been going on. Tell us in the chat what it is.
I'm watching too. I got a couple devices going on here.
All right, so I don't know if I'm going to freeze up again or not. I probably will.
Go for it.
I was just going to talk about Jordan Love.
All right, let's give some love to the new Packers quarterback on the roster.
But unfortunately, my phone keeps doing stupid crap, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it.
We got you right now. So you start, and then
Okay.
Corey will take
All right,
over.
so this is what I'm saying.
He loves the pick.
So I'm looking at this. Because I didn't look up Jack. See, that's the other thing. The reaction from yesterday was I didn't watch any film on Jordan Love. I never thought they were going to draft a quarterback. Why would I do that? I spent all my time looking at linebackers, wide receivers, defensive linemen, a couple of offensive linemen. That's what I did, because I was like trying to figure out who they're going to draft. So I don't know who this Love guy was, and I thought it was the dumbest pick of all time. Okay, well, I stayed up till 6 a.m. yesterday watching a bunch of video on this guy. So what did I do? I think I'm frozen again, but I don't know. We're going to keep going, see what happens.
You're good.
All right, so we got amazing arm strength on this kid. Unbelievable. He throws a tight spiral. He can throw accurately even if his feet are not set, which is a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers trait. We all know that. So Goody and LaFleur are looking at this guy, and they're like, oh, my God, he looks just like Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre. He can make any throw from the pocket. Doesn't matter. Deep throw, his deep ball is perfect. It wasn't. That's the thing. Earlier in the year, he didn't know how to throw a touch ball. By the end of the year, he's throwing 50-yard touch balls over the top of guys. Perfect passes, super deep, like perfect, which he could not do in the beginning of the year last year. So he learned. He developed a better arm strength on that particular throw. He always had the bullet pass, but he learned how to do the deep pass. The other thing, he could move around in the pocket. He's got a good feel, pretty good. He can make guys miss. He can run away from pressure. He's got decent. He's 4.67 or 4.7 for the 40-yard dash. So he's got enough speed. The other thing that's very important is
Ben's froze up again. Jordan Love's got some skills, man. 4.74 isn't, blazing speed, but he's fast enough. He moves around well. This offense does have a lot of boots, a lot of motion that it likes to run off of some of those, plays that look similar and all the play action. So you would expect he would be pretty good at all that. Eric Dahl jumped on here and we got him. And of course he's leaving snarky comments already. He says the Pack is going to take a kicker next to replace Mason Crosby in a couple of years. That'll be their 3rd round pick. Yeah.
Why not? Why not? Just go for it. Trust the process.
Trust the process. Come on. But you know what? Man, this is just looking even more and more like, yeah, they want to. This tandem of Gutekunst and LaFleur want their guys. They want to build it their way, and they're looking for that sustained success. Maybe not worrying about the peaks and going for championships. So when they tell you that the goal is to win the championship, I don't know if we can believe it anymore.
Lion.
I thank my brother for pointing that out to me because I was believing it. I was drinking the Kool-Aid. I was eating the Cheerios. I was whatever else you want to call it. One weird thing in this draft before the Packers made that pick of a running back was that there were 13 wide receivers already drafted, not one of them by the Packers. Ben, I think it's trying to come back. Corey, you got anything else?
I made a joke yesterday, and I think I posted it somewhere on your Facebook that the Packers needed to go for broke and make a splash. Well, I think with that Jordan Love pick, that's exactly what they did. I was just joking about that.
I mean, a splash, but Ben's tired of his connection letting him down. He's going to hang out in the chat, and that's fine. But the thing that happened was one thing that bugged me a bit about what I was seeing is there's a lot more Rodgers haters out there than there should be, in my opinion. And they were just rejoicing with this stuff. And I get it. The first round was boring. A lot of things were falling into place. And now there was some excitement because of some controversy and whatever. But, people that claim to be Packer, carry the G and faithful. Aaron Nagler was drinking a little bit too much on Cheesehead TV, and he was giddy. He was just like, are they going to do it? They're going to do it. Like, dude, are you thinking about what's best for your team right now or what's most exciting because it's going to, rile up people and all that sort of stuff? And so, I don't know. I mean, I like Corey Banky over at Cheesehead TV, but Nagler, he's been a Rodgers hater forever. And he was also a Favre guy, and he held, I think, that against Rodgers for most of his career and always judged him differently. But it's long overdue. The one thing I think is unjust for Aaron Rodgers is the crap he had to deal with to replace Brett Favre. And now you're telling me he's also going to have crap at the end of his time in Green Bay. I just don't like it. The hopeful thing that we can all have, because we all know this about Aaron Rodgers, is that dude can carry a chip like nobody's business. And you hope that he's going to get so mad about this that he destroys everybody. Just lights up the league and plays his possible best for the next couple of years. And then we'll see, that could equal a championship. So maybe that's the good that'll come out of it. But I still think you're missing out on some good talent in the first and second round here.
I was watching a recap of the draftathon with Rich Eisen, had Deion Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Brandon Marshall, a couple other guys, and David Bakhtiari. And everybody was just, what are the Packers doing? Bakhtiari said exactly what you said. This is going to fire Rodgers up. He is going to go out there and just embrace that chip that's on his shoulder, make it even bigger than it already is, and he is just going to light up the NFL. I mean, that's coming from his left tackle. I think
Bakhtiari could use a little light once in a while too, because he's kind of been slacking off the last couple of years. I know he's had some injury stuff, but he hasn't been playing, quite to the caliber that he had set either the last few years. So I don't know if it has anything to do with, guzzling a beer and like 2 gulps at Bucks games, but maybe he should adjust his regimen a little bit too, because I want him to be at his best because they need it. The right tackle situation hopefully is shored up good enough. Do we have a pick? What's happening here? Anybody tell me? The Packers make a selection. I'm watching, but I'm getting like national stuff, and what I'm watching this is baseball.
Yeah, it says it's in. They haven't announced it yet, though.
All right.
They're still going over who the Titans picked, which was a running back.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Corey, you just jump in when you know what the pick is, or somebody else in the chat. Eric also says, so fire him up with a later round pick, second round pick. I would have said a later round pick. And the thing is, that's the part about Love. I mean, clearly the Packers were the only ones that were in love with him. Because other teams passed on him. You could have got him. You might have got him today.
It's definitely possible.
Corey, Patrick Queen was there, man. when they made the move, that's why we were so excited because, Patrick Queen was there and the Packers have been without speed on defense forever. And
Was he
dude's
big enough though?
But
Was he big enough?
As a combo between I brought this up after the fact. I brought this up that Davis Gaither is still the similar size player, very similar athletically with speed and all kinds of quickness and stuff. So that could be a guy that you pair in with Christian Kirksey. And again, the Packers they're banking hard on Kirksey being healthy and being the way he was before he had the last 2 injury seasons.
They're announcing the Packers pick right now,
right.
Just to interrupt you.
You take it. You tell us what it is.
Josiah DeGuara, tight end from Cincinnati. Who? I don't know. Never heard of him. They would have been better off trading the 4th round pick that they no longer have anymore to Tampa Bay for OJ Howard.
All right.
I have to tell you, though, this has been the most entertaining Packers draft I've seen in some time.
When they didn't take what?
I mean, are they trying to seriously they're just going for the worst grade? They're going for, I don't get it. A tight end, you drafted Sternberger in the 3rd round last year. You talked about how great he was. You got Bob Tonyan. You signed Mercedes Lewis back. Like, you're only going to keep 3 tight ends on the roster. I mean, what?
Hashtag trust the process. They are taking the playbook from the 76ers. They are intentionally tanking so they can get a number 1 pick because that's where they're going to get their impact player because they're too cheap to trade up to get the impact player. They had enough capital this year to be able to trade up and get a CeeDee Lamb or somebody else that was going to be an impact player right away. They just choose not to.
Bruce says another interesting pick. Well, that's very kind of you, Bruce. Ben says why with some exclamations. Eric agrees with you, Corey, with your take on Howard. They might have been able to get him for a draft pick or something. Bruce says no wide receivers or inside linebackers still. Again, what are our last visions of this team and when we watched the whole 2019 campaign after a few good defensive series against some early on stopping the run, they could not stop the run. And the 49ers ran all over them. There's 0 player. None of these players are going to help that. And most of these players aren't even going to see the field. And on top of that, the other thing, where were they lacking? Dynamic speed or playmakers at wide receiver. I love Allen Lazard. I think Allen Lazard's a very good 2nd or 3rd option as a receiver. Love the guy. Kumaro, I still think can be effective as your 4th guy. Devontae's Devontae, but you got to have somebody different in there. You need a shifty, quick, fast guy. You either need a guy with blazing speed or a guy that's got incredible change of direction that can get open quick. And they don't have that, and they didn't get it yet. And where are they going to get it? They don't have any more picks. They didn't have a pick next round. All those good receivers are going to be gone by the 5th round. So they haven't addressed defensive tackle. They haven't addressed inside linebacker, and they have not addressed receiver in the first 4 rounds of this draft. And they got rid of their 4th round pick, which I said was going to cost them. And it is, because there's going to still be some good D tackles in the 4th round and receivers. And now they're not even going to have a chance at them. My hands are up.
But they picked up Devin Funchess in free agency.
Oh, my hands are up.
No, it goes back to my point earlier. If Packers fans actually thought the team was as good as they were last year, they're mistaken. This is not a good football team, and the management system, the org structure, doesn't want to make them better. They really don't. They're still going off that fact that you have Aaron Rodgers alone. That there's your 8 wins just with Aaron Rodgers, and maybe we can plug a few pieces in there to get 2 or 3 extra wins just to win the division.
Ooh, somebody's looking for Antonio Brown. Oh no, just kidding. Thank you for that. Browner says this is unreal. Ben echoes me saying we need inside linebacker, wide receiver, offensive line, D tackle. They take a quarterback, halfback, and a tight end. What the hell is going on out there?
At least they're drafting offense.
I mean, goodness gracious. There are no words. There's no
No.
explanation. Corey Bayless, you did your best. We appreciate it for
Sure.
that. No, Corey, your family. But you made some fair points. But again, it doesn't all mesh together with the finances. There's some power struggles going on
Oh yeah.
in Green Bay between the front office, between the Gutekunst and LaFleur and the players, and there's a lot happening there. So it could be dark times, guys, for a while, but we hope not. We hope somehow magically,
Well, like
you
I
know,
said,
things
the
pull
Packers
together.
are really good at selling hope.
That's all we can do at this point. Is hope.
Yep.
Everybody in the chat, thanks for hanging with us. Ben, thanks for trying so hard to get back on. We know Minnesota sucks. That's the reason your connection stinks.
It's very true.
Corey, thanks for jumping on and giving us
no problem.
some insight and having bringing a beard to the show. We don't have any beards on this show, so
Well, somebody's got to kind of look like the lumberjack of the family.
all right, you guys all take care. We'll catch you again next week for another Brews and Bros on Friday night. Take it easy,
See ya.
everybody.